What are the domestic audience already sort of primed up to believe? How? I'm not using the word propaganda, but whatever the states, respective states have made their generations believe now. It's a new generation now. The Indian audience have said to their domestic audience that Pakistan has a state policy to do terrorism in India, and their proxy war policy is to, deny India its natural rise, and that this is a rogue state which is doing the proxy war, and that state must be punished, and that this state is doing even more and more so in the shield of nuclear deterrence. Now, if you have primed your entire generations based on this kind of a policy, then they are asking to do something. Then they are asking, what is all this big Indian army, the maximum amount of, India is the largest buyer of conventional weapons and all this. What are these big armies meant for? So they get entrapped that we've got to prove it to them that this huge Indian army exists for a certain purpose, and that Indian conventional forces are not going to be deterred by Pakistani deterrence, and we're going to teach them a lesson. Nearly 1.3 billion people are told that. They cross the border. In Pakistani generations are said, were it not for the nuclear weapons, we would not have survived as a nation. India would have destroyed us the same way as they did in 1971. So nuclear weapon is at the core of our national deterrence policy, and anything that erodes nuclear deterrent capability of Pakistan actually erodes Pakistani national capability. And India is bent upon destroying Pakistan the same way it was bent upon doing in 1971. Secondly, they are told that whatever stability and whatever rise Pakistan has in terms of economic prosperity, India would not let that happen, because India wants Pakistan to really, kind of stay as a weak, fledgling state, barely surviving, and would not allow Pakistan to be independent, sovereign state to do its policy, particularly with regard to China and independent policy. Therefore, they want to subdue us at all cost. That is the narrative that follows. And that they are about, and the whole generation for years have been told that they are against Muslims, and Kashmir is the Muslim state, and that's a prime example as to what they do to suppress the Kashmiri Muslims is exactly what they're going to do to the rest of the world. So India is surrounding us, India is doing this, India is doing exactly everything that Indian generation are told by the Indian government. The Pakistani generation are told the same thing. They're doing terrorism, they're doing this. So now you have two domestic audiences who are essentially primed, to defeat the other's larger aim and objective. You can see the nuclear weapons is in the mix of this kind of a narrative that has actually evolved in both countries. How difficult it is to really have a sort of a deterrence architecture that makes it stable when the domestic expectation is risen to that level. And then there's no debate about serious restraint, there's no debate about sobriety about that, because talking about that is somebody else's agenda. Oh my God, you're being too soft and you're less hawkish and all that. These are important things, That taboo, nuclear taboo, for example. That debate is seen as what? What does this really mean, They don't want to talk about these issues. So it has evolved very differently in some sense, that actually qualifies more and more about how the domestic audience actually act when it comes to the crisis, because then each side expects the other to do a lot more.